One of the main objectives of this G7 summit certainly was to get an agreement on that loan to Ukraine, because what the leaders want to achieve is a more cohesive response towards Ukraine, to show Russia that even though it's going to continue with its war, or it's determined to continue with its war in Ukraine, it's not going to weaken the resolve of the international community to end that war and to push Russia back. So this is about $50 billion, which is going to be paid for out of money from frozen assets from the Russian central bank that have been frozen in the European Union and in the United States. Of course, there had to be an agreement on this amongst G7 leaders before that loan was going to be possible. So it's certainly going to be good news for the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who is expected here in the southern part of Italy, near Bari, for this summit meeting. So there's some good news, but there are lots of other issues on the agenda, as you were saying, not least what to do in the face of China and its supplying of spare parts for weapons that can be used by Russia in the war in Ukraine. Also, the Chinese support for the Russian economy. The French delegation here have been pretty quick to underline they don't have a contentious issue with China as a country, but they want to iron out some kind of an agreement with the Chinese over this. I think that's going to be one of the key issues on the negotiating table here. But of course, the war in Gaza also is on the agenda. I think there's unity in the fact that most of the countries want a ceasefire deal. They want Hamas to accept the ceasefire deal. And there's also discussion, of course, about a final outcome and a two-state solution. And other issues too. You mentioned the one of artificial intelligence. Believe it or not, Pope Francis is taking part in this G7 summit. This will be the first time the Pope has come to the G7 summit. He's going to take part in a negotiation around artificial intelligence. There's also the issue of immigration that's been put on the agenda by the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who is the president of this G7 summit. And of course, biodiversity and climate change. So lots to discuss and not much time to do it, because this summit's only going to last for 2 days. President Macron of France is due to arrive in about an hour and a half. He's only staying until Friday evening due to all the problems that he has to solve back home in France.